Well, hello everybody. My name is Todd. Today, I would like to take you on a tour of the Red Rocket Recording Studio. This was named Red Rocket Recording Studio back in 2004 before South Park ever ruined the name forever. And we'll get past the rigid security system here and make our entry. And here it is in all its glory. This is a control room and live room and a vocal booth, you name it, it's it. We're going to take a look back at the Patch Bay cable storage. These are for 1/4-inch cables, and there's our bulletin board that only has stickers on it and hasn't really been updated since I think the calendar says 2013. There's some artwork. And that is the closet that, let's just say, probably should never be opened again. And if we turn 90 degrees, we're now standing in the drum room with a cat pad and pedals. Curiously, I don't have any drumsticks or drum thrones because my grandson is now a drummer, so he inherited those. Now we'll make our way over into the control room where we'll look at some of the keyboards. First up is a DeepMind 12, which is a Juno 106 kind of emulation, but it's so good and versatile that I actually traded a real Juno 106 for it. Yeah, call me crazy, but I did. Below that is a Take 5. Dave Smith Instruments recently got the name Sequential Circuits back and released this 5-voice polyphonic analog synthesizer that sounds really super fat. It's really nice. And here we have an ASM Hydrasynth, which is a wavetable synthesizer developed entirely in China, and it's ASM's first synthesizer, and it has a lot in common with the CS80. It's pretty neat. And below that is a Jupiter X by Roland. It's an emulator that emulates a lot of classic analog synthesizers, and it shares the classic stylings of a Jupiter 8. And this is a Jupiter 50, which is a performance keyboard, 72 keys, just has a lot of really great sounds on it. It's my main performance MIDI controller. And this is a X-Touch by Behringer, which is a DAW control. It's got 9 moving faders and transport controls. This iPad has an app on it for controlling Studio One. So I use that in conjunction with the Behringer to do DAW control. Below that is a Behringer monitor controller. Each musician can control their own monitor mix on that from 16 channels coming over a single Cat5 cable. And this is a Native Instruments machine. I don't use it the way you're supposed to, but I use it like a finger drum machine. And these are a couple of 1990s MIDI modules that I have left over. They're the legacy part of this studio. On the top is an Alesis D4, and on the bottom is a Roland sound module called GS64, 128 MIDI voices. And what I'm struggling to pull from the top here is a Linstrument MIDI controller designed by the legendary Roger Lind, which is a perfectly designed, very expressive MIDI controller. And we're going to zoom right past this is a Complete Control MIDI controller, the heart of my system. And moving up to the audio and video monitors, I have a pair of JBL 308s and a pair of Avantone mix cubes with a Mackie big knob control. Most of the mixing gets done on those Avantones. And I've got a heavily branded Rode mic arm. A lot of people like to rub the Rode off of here, but I figure if it said Neumann, everybody would want to keep it on there. So I'm keeping it on there. And behind that, we have a series of 3 Behringer semi-modular monophonic synthesizers. The Neutron, the Pro One, which is kind of like a sequential circuits, and then the Wasp, which is a really neat bass machine, real dirty and grungy. There's my headphones. And sitting up on top of this rack is a Behringer Rhythm Designer 8, and it kind of looks suspiciously like a Roland 808. And at the top of rack 1 are my interfaces, Mark of the Unicorn 828 ES, and then 2 Focusrite 8 input preamps connected to the Mark of the Unicorn by ADAT. And this 500 series rack has preamps by Freudenstein, Cranborn Audio, and Neve. And below that is an Art Digital MPA 2 preamp, very good preamp for the money, followed by all the patch points for getting in and out of this rack. This Quilter thing is a 45 watt power amp that drives my speaker cabinet for my guitar. And what are these even for? I got 100 of them. They come with every mic. I've never used one. And here's an Art Voicemaster preamp. Real big fan of Art. And scrolling across the guitar preamp I have, the PB Rockmaster. Another piece of gear I used extensively in the 90s. And this 500 series rack is for compressors and equalizers, mostly used on the way in. And here's some more compressors by Art. Another EQ, and then a digital delay from the 90s by Digitech. And this patch bay brings together all of the instruments, all the synthesizers, all the drum machines, all the keyboards, everything to one spot so they can be patched into the inputs for recording. And this is the channel selector for my guitar amp. And there's our big fluffy couch as we walk down the hallway past the sound treatment that doesn't work into our guitar storage facility. The first guitar up is a Gibson from the 2000s. This is a USA Gibson that I took in on a trade. Then there's a Martin made out of cardboard that I left in my car one night and it split in half. I tuned it Nashville. There's my Taylor. It's the best guitar I have. This is a 12-string cardboard Martin, and this is a Dobro that I have no idea how to play. Every time I try, it sounds like hell. So those are the acoustic guitars. And electric guitars are really hard to photograph with a horizontal video camera. But this is a Godin. It's a their special guitar. It does acoustic electric sounds, plus it has a 13-pin connector for a synth built right in. The next one is a Jackson Dinky Reverse. Holdover from the 90s if I need a whammy bar. There it is. A Fender Telecaster 63 reissue. And then a Epiphone Les Paul $200 guitar. And then the next guitar there is a yard sale $50 Epiphone Les Paul Jr. that I put the P90 in. It's noisy. And here's a Music Man Stingray 5-string bass, but not the real one. There's an interesting story as to why it has all the tags on it. Ask me about that later. And we've made our way into the vocal booth with the vocal mic setup. And that's the Avantone C12 Taylor Swift mic. There's a little clip for the remote control and another one of those Behringer monitor things. Some headphones and tambourine if you want to make some noise. And there's the guitar cabinet. Now we're in the cab ISO booth. Heading up to the IT department, which is the computer that runs the whole studio. And then back down here is a mic stand with a ribbon mic in it. And these are the back of the racks. You're not supposed to see this. This is where the sausage is made. We don't want to see any of this. And it's a big old mess. So we're going to head up to the mic locker, or the storage closet that I'm allowed to open. There's somewhere around 40 different microphones here that we can choose from, in all different configurations and styles. And then I developed a cable hanger that I can hang my cables from on this closet rod. And there's some mic stands, and then there's something in here that every studio has if they're honest, and it's a box of spaghetti twisted spare cables, and it's quite embarrassing, but and there it is. You've taken the whole grand tour of the Red Rocket Studio. And I'd like to thank you for being on this journey with me, and I'll see if I can get out. Take care.